Forget the deep sea. Forget the sunken legends. What if Atlantis never sank, but simply dried out? Turn your gaze to the Sahara Desert. There, a colossal eye has stared into space for over 10,000 years. This is not myth. It is geology's alibi. Today, we will unravel the lost ancient city. Welcome to the truth. The Eye of the Sahara, Atlantis. Chapter 1. An impossible coincidence. Let us open Plato's Critias. This is not a fairy tale. It is a precise engineering blueprint. Plato describes Atlantis' capital as a structure of 3 rings of water and 2 rings of land, laid out with the precision of a wheel. Now, look at Mauritania's reshot structure. Even after 12,000 years of erosion, its concentric ridges remain unmistakably clear. From orbit, this is not resemblance, it is overlap. Geologists say it is an eroded uplift of the Earth's crust, but nature despises straight lines, and it almost never draws perfect concentric circles. If this is natural, why does it match Plato's description exactly? Skeptics argue that shape alone proves nothing, but mathematics does not lie. Plato records the diameter of Atlantis' capital as 127 stadia, approximately 23.5 kilometers. Now measure the reshot structure from one edge of the outermost visible ring to the other, 23.5 kilometers, an error margin of less than 1%. And that is not all. Plato notes, high mountains to the north shield the city from cold winds, while to the south lies an open plain leading to the sea. Look again at the Eye of the Sahara. To the north stands the Adrar Plateau, a natural mountain barrier. To the south, the land slopes gently, stretching all the way toward the Atlantic Ocean. Shape, size, orientation. This is no longer coincidence. It is a map that leads precisely to its destination, down to the surrounding landscape. Chapter 2. The Forgotten Green Age. But the greatest question remains. Who would build a maritime civilization in a desert? Close your eyes. Erase today's endless dunes from your mind. Turn the clock back 12,000 years. This was not a sea of death. It was a crater of life. Paleoclimatologists call it the African humid period. Plato mentions a detail long dismissed as absurd. Elephants existed there in great numbers. To the ancient Greeks, the far west was barren and lifeless. Yet look at the Tassili rock art of the Sahara. Clear depictions of giraffes, rhinoceroses, and vast herds of elephants. Now imagine Atlantis as it was. Its vast circular canals not merely defensive works, but irrigation systems. Rainwater from northern mountains nourished the plains, yielding harvests twice each year. While northern Europe still shivered in the Ice Age, people here stood on lush grasslands, watching elephants bathe in sunset-lit marshes. This is not fantasy. It is a real ecological snapshot of the past. Chapter 3. The Height of Glory. Now, let us enter the city. Plato provides an astonishingly specific detail. They quarried stone from beneath the city. Red, black, and white stone. Modern surveys of the reshot region confirm it. Red iron oxide sandstone, black basalt, and white weathered limestone. Picture yourself at the gates of the second ring of land. Before you rise walls of interwoven red, black, and white stone. But under the sun, they gleam with metallic brilliance. Legend says the outer ring was clad in copper, the inner ring in tin, and the central citadel coated in the mysterious metal orichalcum, glowing with a fiery red light beneath the tropical sun. This was a city that shone. From tens of kilometers away, sailors on the Atlantic would have seen it, a colossal eye of fire burning at the edge of a green world. Beneath this metallic radiance stood a highly advanced society. They harnessed hot and cold springs on the central island to build lavish public baths. Their harbors brimmed with triremes from across the known world, unloading copper and timber. But this was also a martial and disciplined civilization. When night fell, Torches illuminated a sacred pillar of orichalcum engraved with laws. Kings sacrificed bulls atop the pillar, letting blood flow over the metal inscriptions. They then drank wine mixed with the bull's blood, swearing obedience to ancient laws. Sound familiar? This ritual mirrors the bull-leaping traditions of the Minoan civilization. Perhaps Crete was not the origin, but a colony founded by Atlantean survivors. They revered the sea. They revered power, yet they never imagined that their final judge would not be the ocean's fury, but the shifting of the earth itself. Chapter 4. The Day of Judgment. So when did it all end? Plato states that Atlantis was destroyed around 9,600 BCE, approximately 11,600 years ago. Modern science tells us this coincides precisely with the end of the Younger Dryas. The Ice Age ended abruptly. Global sea levels surged in a geological instant. It was a worldwide climate catastrophe. Atlantis did not fall to war, it fell to climate change. Imagine the final day. Comet fragments strike Earth, triggering cascading disasters. Atlantic waters rise like a wall, surging past the coastline and flooding the low-lying Sahara. Within hours, the glowing city was swallowed. Torches were extinguished. Sacred pillars collapsed. The lights of civilization vanished overnight. The end of the story hides its deepest clue. Plato wrote that after Atlantis' destruction, the area did not become deep ocean, but a shoal of mud, impassable to ships. That explains why we never found it underwater, because it was never there. When the waters retreated, they left behind salt and sediment, burying the city completely. Even today, the Rishot region is surrounded by salt flats and mud plains. Atlantis did not disappear. It was entombed. The once glorious concentric city now lies quietly beneath sand and stone, waiting for future storms to expose its bones once more. The story of Atlantis may not be a legend of a magical kingdom, but a suicide note written 10,000 years ago. Its message is simple. Civilization is fragile. The eye of the Sahara, this immense eye of the earth, has watched green lands turn to desert and oceans become dust. It warns us, nothing is eternal. Even the mightiest civilization can vanish in a single night. If Atlantis could be forgotten for 10,000 years, what about us? We arrogantly assume that we are the masters of Earth, but what if we are merely ants living beneath the giants? Look at the 1,000-ton stones. Look at the deliberately destroyed skeletons with 6 fingers. This is not mythology. This is a sealed crime scene. History has not lied. It has simply been filtered. Initiate observer mode. Welcome to the truth, the ancient giant civilization. Our first stop, Baalbek, Lebanon. Standing beneath the ruins of the Temple of Jupiter, humanity feels microscopic. Because beneath our feet lie 3 impossible foundation stones. Each one weighs over 1,000 tons. To put that into perspective, that is the equivalent of stacking 3 fully loaded Boeing 747s. The Romans passed through this site, yes, but their most powerful cranes could lift no more than 60 tons. So who, in an age without hydraulics, cut, lifted, and fitted these stones with absolute precision, as if they were children's blocks? Perhaps there is only one answer. To the builders, these stones were not heavy at all. Our second stop, Lovelock Cave, Nevada. Stones remain silent. Bones do not. In 1911, miners broke into a nightmare sealed by dust and time. They uncovered mummified bodies over 2.5 meters tall, their skulls still crowned with vivid red hair. This discovery shattered everything we thought we knew about early North America. Even more disturbing, their jawbones were so massive they could be fitted over the head of a modern adult man. Local Paiute elders preserved a story of terror. Their ancestors waged war against red-haired cannibal giants known as the Siteka, finally trapping and burning them alive inside this very cave. This is not folklore. This is an excavated crime scene. Now we turn to the Mediterranean, Sardinia. The island is scattered with hundreds of megalithic structures known as tombs of the giants. Here, archaeologists uncovered their guardians, the Nuragic statues. Look closely and something feels wrong. The massive circular eyes, the broad imposing bodies, and then the detail that changes everything. Count their fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 fingers, 6 toes. This aligns perfectly with the biblical description in 1 Samuel of the giant of Gath. 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in total. If these statues are realistic, then perhaps the monsters of Scripture once truly walked the earth. Our fourth stop takes us deep into the Andes of Peru. The walls of Sacsayhuaman defy modern engineering logic. Andesite blocks weighing over 200 tons, irregular in shape, yet fitted together with puzzle-like precision. No mortar, no gaps, not even a sheet of paper can pass between the seams. Now examine the stone surfaces carefully. These marks do not resemble chisel cuts. They look melted, as if solid rock had been softened like clay, then shaped and stacked by enormous hands. The Inca said these walls were built overnight by giants who descended from the sky. Why do we cling to elaborate pulley theories, yet dismiss the testimony of the builders themselves? Did the giants truly vanish in prehistory? In 1520, Magellan's fleet reached South America. This is not legend. It is recorded in official ship logs. Explorer Antonio Pigafetta wrote in trembling detail, "The tallest of our men reached only to his waist. They traded with these beings on the shore and named the land Patagonia, meaning big feet." For the next 2 centuries, explorers, including Sir Francis Drake, continued to document encounters with giants. They survived into modern history until the gunfire of colonization silenced them. They were not myths. They were neighbors who disappeared only yesterday. If the evidence is so abundant, why is it absent from textbooks? Why are there no skeletons in museums? This may be archaeology's greatest open secret. Late 19th century American newspapers contain over 1,500 headlines reporting the discovery of giant human skeletons. Yet each time the Smithsonian Institution intervened, the remains were acquired, shipped to Washington, and then erased. Internal accusations describe a systematic academic purge. To preserve a linear model of human evolution, any anomalous evidence had to be destroyed. Perhaps even now, deep beneath a museum storage vault, those massive skulls lie silent in wooden crates, waiting to be seen again. From the foundations of Lebanon to the vanished archives of our museums, Earth's history may be a book with its most crucial pages torn out. As we stand before these ruins, we must remain humble, because before us, this world was ruled by beings larger, stronger, and more powerful than ourselves. And the reason for their disappearance may be a preview of our own future. The ancients had no airplanes, they had no satellites, so why did they create symbols that can only be fully understood from high above? Look at the runways carved along mountain ridges. Look at the figures staring straight into the sky. This was never a simple religious ritual. It is a vast blueprint, one that points upward. People on the ground could not understand it because the intended audience was never human. Activate observer mode. Welcome to the truth. The Nazca Lines. If this was meant to summon rain, why carve an astronaut into a mountainside? Among countless animal geoglyphs, one figure feels profoundly out of place. Positioned on a sloping hill, it appears to stand at elevation, raising its arm toward the sky. The oversized circular head bears no resemblance to traditional Nazca headdresses. Instead, it looks eerily like a modern astronaut's helmet. Those enormous eyes have been fixed on the heavens for over 2,000 years. Is this a self-portrait of a Nazca priest, or a recorded encounter with something that came from beyond the sky? Lines on flat ground can be explained as walking rituals, but the structures on mountain ridges defy easy answers. Shift your gaze north to the hills of Palpa. Here, entire mountaintops are marked by massive trapezoids. The ancients did not flatten peaks. They selected naturally level ridges and carried out an immense clearing operation. Tens of thousands of dark volcanic stones were removed, revealing broad, pale geometric surfaces, flat, precise, stretching for kilometers. Without heavy machinery, this would have required staggering human effort. Why clear what looks unmistakably like a landing platform on a high ridge, unless something was meant to land there? The most astonishing feature of Nazca is not the figures, it is the straight lines. They cut across rolling hills, cross dry riverbeds, and extend for kilometers while maintaining near-perfect geometric alignment. Modern surveyors admit that even with aerial mapping, the margin of error would be comparable. Archaeologists have found wooden stakes, suggesting a simple three-point alignment method, yet that only deepens the mystery. With nothing but rope and wood, no aircraft, no vantage point, they displayed a mathematical discipline far ahead of their time. This was not spontaneous art, it was deliberate, engineered design. The ancients believed, as above, so below. The famous Nazca spider hides two secrets. First, it depicts a species found only in the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of kilometers from the desert. How did the Nazca know such precise biological details? Second, its form aligns astonishingly well with the stars of the Orion constellation. One leg is deliberately extended, transformed into a straight line that points exactly toward the rising position of Orion's belt on the horizon. This is not decoration. It is a colossal star map binding Earth to the cosmos. If these lines were not meant for the sky, the alternative truth may be even more unsettling. Researcher David Johnson proposed the most scientifically grounded, yet astonishing theory of all. This is a map of water. Geological surveys reveal that the paths of the Nazca Lines closely overlap with underground fault-fed aquifers. This implies the Nazca possessed a lost technique, the ability to see through the ground, pinpointing water sources more than 50 meters below the surface. This is not an airport. It is a planetary survival circuit board. Triangles mark water width. Zigzag lines indicate flow direction. They encoded life itself into stone and sand. We believed we had already deciphered Nazca. We were wrong. In the 21st century, researchers at Yamagata University used AI analysis on satellite imagery and uncovered over 300 new geoglyphs in just a few years. Knife-wielding whales, multi-headed serpents, more humanoid figures, some disturbingly non-human. Time had blurred these shapes, but algorithms reconstructed what human eyes could no longer see. This proves one thing beyond doubt. The desert still conceals countless lost codes. The message left behind by the ancients is far larger than we ever imagined. From spiders that summon the stars to geometric lines that guide water beneath the earth, the Nazca Lines may not be alien runways, but they are among the greatest achievements of human intelligence. In a barren wasteland, the Nazca etched an epic of survival, mathematics, and belief, using nothing but stone and sand. They did not need to fly into the sky because their minds were already among the stars. We are taught that Earth is solid, but what if that has been a lie, sustained for over 2 centuries? Why do satellite images of the poles always contain a deliberately blurred mosaic? Why did Admiral Byrd report green forests and mammoths beneath the Arctic ice? Beneath our feet, there may not be molten magma, but another sun and a hidden world. Activate observer mode. Welcome to the truth, Agartha. Let us begin with a question so simple it is unsettling. Why, in an age of advanced satellite technology, can we still not see a clear, complete image of the North Pole? Open Google Earth. Drag the view to the pole. You will not see pristine ice, but an unnatural circular blur or unmistakable signs of a data mask. As early as 1818, John Cleves Sims proposed a radical theory. The Earth's poles are open. It sounds absurd, and yet, Why did early polar explorers consistently report that temperatures rose the farther north they traveled? The aurora does not behave like a purely atmospheric phenomenon. Its source appears to originate from something deeper, from a vast hollow at the poles. So what lies beyond that circular void, so carefully erased from satellite view? In February 1947, U.S. Navy Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd flew deep into the Arctic. What followed is officially denied, yet preserved in a leaked diary that forms the cornerstone of the Hollow Earth narrative. In these records, Byrd describes 3 suffocating hours. During flight, the compass spun uncontrollably. Radio communications dissolved into unknown frequencies. Then, the impossible occurred. The ice below vanished. In its place appeared lush green mountains and rivers that shimmered with light. The cockpit instruments showed an external temperature of 23 degrees Celsius. This was no hallucination, because moments later, Byrd's aircraft was silently intercepted by 2 disc-shaped craft bearing Iron Cross insignia. The radio crackle ceased, replaced by a calm, authoritative male voice, speaking English with a German accent. "Admiral, welcome to our world." If the Earth is hollow, where does the light come from? Byrd described it as strange and diffuse. It cast no harsh shadows, yet illuminated everything. This mirrors the Norse legend of the smoky god. Some physicists speculate that Earth's core may host a miniature, self-sustaining plasmasphere, a floating photonic body emitting soft red-gold light. It provides constant warmth, creating a world of perpetual daylight beneath the crust. There is no night, only the gentle breathing of light and shadow. The auroras we see on the surface may not be the work of solar winds at all, but the leakage of inner light escaping through polar openings. In that warm, illuminated world, time appears to falter. Through his aircraft window, Byrd reported a sight that defies evolutionary timelines. A massive, shaggy, elephant-like creature walking calmly through sparse woodland. A mammoth. This may solve a long-standing mystery: why frozen mammoths found in Siberian permafrost still contain undigested buttercup flowers in their mouths. They did not starve slowly in an ice age. They may have wandered out from a warm interior world and been killed instantly by surface cold. The inner Earth may be a biological backup drive. Species we assume extinct may have simply retreated to a safer layer of the planet. This is not just a land of beasts, it is a land of civilization. At its center lies Agartha, known in the East as Shambhala. Its inhabitants are said to be humanoids over 3 meters tall, with lifespans reaching several centuries. Their technology surpasses ours by millennia, having mastered anti-gravity and telepathy. According to the diary, Byrd was brought before their ruler, referred to only as the Master. The giant delivered a grave warning. "We did not concern ourselves with the savage wars of surface humanity until you detonated the first atomic bomb in Japan. They are not hiding from us. They are watching us, ensuring that the surface-dwelling madmen do not destroy the planet we share." Perhaps this is more than legend. During World War II, Germany showed an unusual obsession with Antarctica, claiming a region they named New Swabia. Declassified documents reveal that multiple U-boats were dispatched south with a single objective: locate the entrance to Agartha and establish Base 211. After the war, U-530 and U-977 vanished without explanation, only to resurface months later in Argentina, their crews refusing to speak of where they had been. In 1946, the U.S. Navy launched Operation High Jump, officially a scientific mission. In reality, it deployed 4,700 troops, along with an aircraft carrier. Was this exploration or preparation for war? Did they go south to study penguins or to confront a rumored subterranean fortress? uncharted horizons, to a sun at Earth's core. The existence of Agartha would shatter everything we think we know. Perhaps Earth is not a lonely rock in space, but a vessel carrying two civilizations. We live exposed on the cold upper deck, battered by wind and storms, and the true custodians of the planet sit below in warm halls, watching us repeat the same mistakes.
I Am Become Death, the Destroyer of Worlds. In 1945, Oppenheimer trembled as he watched the mushroom cloud rise. But he did not know this. That fire had already burned on Earth thousands of years before. Vitrified ruins in the Indus Valley, mysterious glass scattered across deserts. Was this a prehistoric nuclear war or a catastrophe from the sky? Perhaps Earth has already been destroyed once. Activate Observer Mode. Welcome to the truth. Prehistoric destruction. Let us begin in Pakistan, at Mohenjo-Daro. 4,000 years ago, this city possessed advanced urban planning, and then it suddenly collapsed. The most disturbing discovery is the presence of 44 human skeletons scattered across the streets. Mainstream archaeology argues they died at different times, perhaps from famine or disease, but their final positions are unsettling. Some are holding hands. Some appear to have fallen mid-stride, as if disaster struck in a single instant. There are no sword wounds, no signs of animal scavenging. It is as though time itself was frozen, and they were sealed beneath history's dust. If the cause of death remains debated, the stones tell a far clearer story. Across the site, archaeologists uncovered vitrified clay and a rock, material that has been melted into glass. This requires temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Celsius. Such heat is normally found only in volcanic eruptions or meteor impacts. Yet there is no volcano here, no impact crater. There is only one historical parallel that produces nearly identical material: the nuclear test site in New Mexico, where sand was fused into green glass. This resemblance has led many researchers to ask a terrifying question: are these two sites connected by the same kind of destruction? What if we set aside modern arrogance and listen to ancient voices? The Indian epic Mahabharata describes a war of annihilation. Listen carefully to these words: a blazing column of smoke, brighter than 1,000 suns, bodies burned beyond recognition, nails fell out, birds turned white, food became poison. These lines were written thousands of years ago. How could ancient poets so precisely describe the symptoms of gash, radiation sickness, and the shape of a key mushroom cloud? Is this merely metaphor, or a record of a real catastrophe? Perhaps a comet detonating in the atmosphere? This kind of extreme heat is not confined to India. Across the Libyan desert, vast fields of yellow-green glass litter the sands. Even the scarab of Tutankhamun was carved from this material. Scientific analysis reveals traces of iridium, an element commonly associated with extraterrestrial impacts. This leads to a more grounded, yet equally terrifying explanation. A meteor airburst, a massive object detonated in the atmosphere before reaching the ground, releasing heat equivalent to hundreds of Hiroshima-level atomic bombs. This was not human nuclear warfare, but to ancient civilizations, it would have felt indistinguishable from divine judgment, the beginning of a nuclear winter. We often believe nuclear energy is a modern invention, but Earth mastered it long before we did. In Oklo, Gabon, scientists discovered a natural nuclear reactor active 2 billion years ago. Under precise geological conditions, uranium deposits underwent sustained nuclear fission for hundreds of thousands of years. This proves one thing beyond doubt: nuclear reactions do not require human technology. Nature itself is a nuclear laboratory, so we must ask, could an ancient civilization have accidentally triggered a powerful natural energy they did not understand and paid the ultimate price? Finally, we turn to Scotland. Here stand dozens of so-called vitrified forts. Thick granite walls have been melted, fused into solid glass. Experimental archaeology shows that ordinary wood fires struggled to produce such complete vitrification. Sustained temperatures above 1,000 degrees Celsius would have been required. Why were these fortresses built? And what enemy demanded such heat? Greek fire, meteor impacts, or a forgotten high-temperature weapon? The stone has turned to glass, but the truth has turned into mystery. From Indian epics to Africa's natural nuclear reactor, our search for prehistoric nuclear war may not be about proving the existence of aliens. It may be a warning. Civilization is fragile. Whether from cosmic disaster or human arrogance, destruction requires only a moment. One day, will our skyscrapers become the vitrified ruins that baffle a future civilization? Look up at the moon. You believe it is a natural satellite, but what if it is a disguised spacecraft? Why did it ring like a bell for nearly an hour after impact? Why do shallow craters conceal what appears to be an indestructible metallic shell beneath the dust? It was not born to accompany Earth, it was sent to observe it. Activate Observer Mode. Welcome to the truth. The Spaceship Moon, 10. Let us begin with a miracle everyone has witnessed, yet few have truly questioned: the total solar eclipse. The sun's diameter is roughly 400 times that of the moon, and the distance from Earth to the sun is also 400 times the distance from Earth to the moon. These two 400s cause the sun and moon to appear exactly the same size in Earth's sky. Even more unsettling, the moon is slowly drifting away from Earth at T 3.8 centimeters per year. This means humanity exists within a very narrow temporary window in which total eclipses are even possible. Statistically, this should not happen, not through blind natural evolution. It looks less like coincidence and more like deliberate engineering, designed so we would witness that perfect circle. If mathematics can be dismissed as chance, physics cannot. In 1969, NASA deliberately crashed the Apollo 12 lunar module into the moon's surface. The result was not the dull thud of rock. It was a resonant hum, a metallic reverberation echoing through vacuum. The moon rang like a bell for nearly an hour, leaving scientists perplexed to this day. Later, the heavier Apollo 13 rocket stage struck the moon. This time, vibrations lasted 3 hours and 20 minutes. Imagine striking a solid stone sphere. Now imagine striking a hollow bronze bell. Solid rock absorbs shock. Only a hollow structure sustains resonance. So, which one did we hit? If the moon is hollow, why has it not collapsed? Its surface is covered in impact craters. Yet no matter the size of the meteorite, the craters remain surprisingly shallow. Even the massive Gagarin crater, hundreds of kilometers wide, is only a few kilometers deep. This defies impact physics. Such collisions should punch endlessly downward unless something extremely hard lies beneath the dust. Scientists have discovered unusually high concentrations of titanium, uranium, and pure iron in lunar samples. It resembles a warship clad in rock, a metallic armor protecting a hollow interior from catastrophic penetration. Before Apollo 11 ever landed, another file was quietly sealed. When Apollo 10 passed behind the moon, it entered a complete radio blackout. Yet in that absolute silence, astronaut Eugene Cernan reported hearing strange electronic whistling sounds. He quietly asked his crewmates, "Sounds like space music, doesn't it?" The sound persisted for nearly over an hour. Official explanations blame radio interference between instruments. But here is the unsettling question. On the moon's far side, a region completely shielded from Earth signals, where did the interference come from?
No signal detected.
When did the moon arrive? Maybe humanity still remembers that moment. An African Zulu priest recorded a startling oral history. Long ago, Earth's sky had no moon, until two alien brothers dragged it from afar into its current orbit. Coincidentally, the Greek philosopher Aristotle mentioned a people called the Proselynes. The meaning of this word is those who existed before the moon. These two clues, separated by vast distances, point to one possibility. The moon is an outsider. Finally, let's look at it today. The moon always faces Earth with the exact same side. In astronomy, this is called tidal locking. While natural, the moon's locking is uncannily precise. It acts like a fixed camera, its lens forever locked onto its target, Earth. And that dark side that never faces us becomes a perfect blind spot. There, aliens could build bases or park motherships, forever hidden from humanity. It doesn't want us to see its back, because there might be its control panel. From perfect geometry to an indestructible metallic hull, the moon itself is a giant question mark. Maybe it's a derelict arc. Maybe it's an active monitor. Whenever you look up at that moon, remember, it is watching us. It has watched us for 10,000 years. I'm Omni Luma. Thanks for watching our Season 4 finale. Please subscribe. Next season, we head into deep space to explore the possibilities of alien life.